Good afternoon to all of you. We are the Group 1 and we are here to report about the moral agent. Our lesson objectives for today's lesson are to define moral agent, to define culture and know authors defined culture, to know the role of culture in moral development, to identify different Filipino character in terms of strengths and weaknesses, and to differentiate Asian and Western culture in moral development. What is a moral agent? A moral agent is a person who has the ability to discern right from wrong and to be held accountable for his or her own actions. They have a moral responsibility not to cause unjustified harm. With this, we can conclude that the children's, babies, and persons with mental disabilities may have a little or no capacity to be moral agents because they cannot discern right from wrong or good or bad. Kapag yung person ay may mental disability, it means hindi niya kaya mag-isip ng tama o mali. And about the person that have full mental capacity, they can abandon or natatalikuran nila yung kanilang moral agency kapag naharap sila sa mahirap na sitwasyon. One example is, kapag naiipit sa isang sitwasyon yung tao and need ng kapalit like kapag sa mga hostage. Diba kapag na-hostage, the person na ng hostage ay humihingi ng bagay na gusto nila. That's why in this situation, maaaring gawin ng tao ang mga maling bagay dahil may kapalit. For example, kapag sinabihan kang, "Lend me your money or else I'll kill you and your family." Something like that. At dahil dito, nawawalan tayo ng moral agency. What are the moral subject? The moral subject includes human, animals, art, and environment. And what about the moral community? Moral community includes all people from birth to death. Theoretically, every person in moral community has equal natural rights to moral protection. Ibig sabihin, lahat tayo ay may pantay-pantay na karapatan to moral protection. What about the moral community in ethics? One's moral community consists of all those beings that one holds in moral regard. But not all the moral subjects are part of the moral community dahil ang moral community ay people from birth to death. And moral people are the agents who have the abilities to know what is wrong or what is right. That's why animals, art, and environment does not belong to moral community. But animals have the moral worth or the protection from unjustified harm. Meron tayong mga law o mga batas na nagbabawal na patayin or saktan yung mga hayop. Now, let us define what is culture. Culture is known as the way of life of group of people. According to Merriam-Webster 2023, culture is defined as the customary beliefs, social forms, and material traits of a racial, religious, or social group. The set of shared attitudes, values, goals, and practices that characterizes an institution or organization. The set of values, conventions, or social practices associated with a particular field, activity, or societal characteristic. Based from this definition, we can tell that culture is about how we are living in our world with the use of our beliefs, traits, practices, values, attitudes, and so on that are shared and passed down through generation to generation. Here are the some authors that define culture. Johannes Germ of 2006. Based from Magister Artium Johannes Germ, he defined culture as the result of human actions and at the same time has a direct effect on human action. Thus, a situation or action can be interpreted directly to two people with different cultural background due to the influence of culture. Ibig sabihin, lahat tayo ay may sari-sariling kultura and that culture is unique from one another na nagdi-differentiate sa atin kung saang bansa or lugar tayo nagmula. For example, dito sa Pilipinas, we have many culture like the traditions or beliefs sa supernatural and we say, tabi-tabi po, tipagmamano, the Filipino time, and so on. Culture in different countries differ from one another, just like the culture in Japan. They like anime, manga, their festivals called Matsuri, and so on. To conclude, there are hundreds and thousands of cultures around the world that are unique and beautiful on its own. Secondly, Edward B. Taylor, 1832 to 1917. According to the Oxford University Press by authors Vivanco L.A., Welks R.L., they give citations of few authors who defined culture. First, the English scholar Sir Edward B. Taylor, known for his founding figure of cultural anthropology, which for him, culture, as the complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, law, morals, custom, and any other capabilities acquired by man as a member of society. Based from Sir Taylor, culture is a complex whole, komplikadong kabuuan, meaning to say, sobrang daming nakapaloob dito at hindi natin basta-basta malalaman ang lahat ng meron sa culture kung hindi natin susuriing mabuti. From him, culture daw ay kinapapalooban ng ating knowledge, belief, art, law, morals, custom at iba pa na ating nakukuha, na-obtain sa ating society. And the second one was the anthropologist Clifford Geertz of 1926 to 2006, which proposed that culture is a system of symbols. A symbol being something that conventionally stands for something else, through which people make sense of the world. His idea tells that culture is embodied and transmitted through symbols. Those symbols in culture includes signs, emblems, hand gestures, flags, and much more. And it says culture is transmitted, meaning to say, ang ating kultura ay ipinapasa o naipapasa year by year or time by time, from people to people, which makes our culture standing until now and in the future, because we passed down our culture through generation to generations. We're done with the authors who defined culture. And now let us know what is the importance of culture in our moral development. It says culture helps in generating the character and identity of its people. It also includes their moral culture, shapes the character and identity of people in the community through the norms, standards, rules, regulations, and laws. Our culture helps us in our moral development because we have different culture, meaning to say we all have different values and behaviors, which made us distinct in each other. And because of culture, natututo tayong makisalamuha sa ibang tao. Naiimpluwensyahan tayo ng isa't isa maski ng kultura ng iba na nagdudulot sa atin upang mapalago ang ating morality at pagkatao.
Hi, I'm Siren Ray and one of the reporters. I believe that every individual has strengths and weaknesses because it's what makes us human. Sabi nga nila, nobody is perfect. Filipinos are known for their warm hospitality and generosity towards guests and visitors. We put value in relationships and prioritize the needs of families and community. In addition, we Filipinos have the ability to bounce back from challenges and hardship, demonstrating our resilience and positive outlook. In the presentation, there are 9 common strengths of Filipinos, which are the pakikipagkapwa-tao, family, solidarity, joy and humor, flexibility, adaptability and creativity, hard work and industry, hospitality, gender-specific values, faith and religiosity, and ability to survive. There are also 9 common weaknesses of Filipino characters, which are the extreme personalism, extreme family-centeredness, lack of discipline, passivity and lack of initiative, colonial mentality, lavishness, outright display of generosity, stereotyping, role gender assignment, kanya-kanya syndrome, and risk of self-analysis and self-reflection. So, the first strength of Filipino is the pakikipagkapwa-tao. It is demonstrated in the Filipinos' ability to empathize with others in helpfulness and generosity. It is also manifested in a basic sense of justice and fairness in a concern for others. Filipino possess a sensitivity to people's feelings or pakikiramdam, pagtitiwala or trust, and a sense of gratitude or utang na loob. In short, it means connecting yourself with others, feeling yourself in others, and having a shared identity and shared inner self. There is a saying, treat others as you would like to be treated. Because if you want to be treated right in a good way, we should treat also them in a good way. It is like reciprocating one's doing. For example, my neighbors helped me with my garden, so I reciprocated them by making a snack or a dinner. And this is where the utang na loob or gratitude enter. Filipinos most evidently exemplify pakikipagkapwa-tao through the practices of bayanihan and the budol fight. The former is more widely done in our rural areas of the country. Next one is the extreme personalism of weakness of the Filipino characters. It is manifested in the tendency to give personal interpretations to actions, like to take things personally. Thus, a sincere questions may be viewed as a challenge to one's competence, or positive feedback may be interpreted as a sign of special affection. There is, in fact, some basis for such interpretations as Filipinos become a personal in their criticism and praise. Personalism is also manifested in the need to establish personal relationships before any business or work relationship can be successful. In short, you take things personally, nag-a-assume ka lahat binibigyan mo ng meaning. Also, there is no separation between objective tasks and emotional involvement. Some overdue pakikipagkapwa-tao taking their relationships with others in a personal way. Example of this is applying for a job without a hassle or applying a job using your personal relationship. Getting a job is not as easy as counting 1, 2, 3. It will take you heaps of effort, dig a big hole in your pocket, require long hours of walking in a queue for a job interviews before you can get a decent job. This is where the palakasan system takes place, where you are allowed to get a job without a hassle. The use of connection ba? Bago pa man magkatrabaho, meron na kayong personal relationship between the applicant and the one who is hiring. O kaya naman meron kang friend sa company na nirecommend ka. Second one of example is a couple on the office were together but no separation between work and emotions. Siyempre, pag nasa work tayo, dapat professional. Dapat isang tabi muna ang pagiging magkasintahan para hindi maapektuhan yung trabaho ninyo. Kasi kung walang separation, maaari magkaroon ng conflicts, like hindi magiging maayos at matatapos ang naka-assign na task para sa iyo. And worse, maaari pa kayong ma-fired parehas. The second strength of Filipino character is the family solidarity. It refers to the sense of unity and support among members of a family. It encompasses the bonds of affection, loyalty, and mutual responsibility that hold a family together. This is where we show our genuine and deep love for the family. And also, this is the source of personal identity, emotional and material support. And lastly, it is where our commitment and responsibility. Example is doing household chores and celebrating a birthday of the family member. By this, it shows the bond, the shared responsibility, the affection, the unity, and the support among the members of the family. Extreme family centeredness. It is a strong family protection in a good or a bad condition. It is also refers to a situation where a person's entire life revolves around their family and their priorities are completely aligned with the family's values and goals. It is also about the excessive concern for family manifests itself in the use of one's office and power as a means of promoting the interests of the family in factionalism, patronage, and political dynasties in the protection of erring family members. Example of factionalism patronage is a small group of people from a larger group that has different ideas was being supported by a patron or a boss. That's why their ideas will be the ones to follow. In political dynasties, a political family, also referred as political dynasty, is a family in which several members are involved in politics, particularly electoral politics. Members may be related by blood or marriage. Example is former President Cory Aquino to late President Benigno Aquino III. We all know that it is essential to have a strong protection whether it is a good or bad condition or situation, but why can it be also a major weakness as a Filipino character? It is because extreme family dynamics can result in overprotective or consentidor. Consequences of being extreme on one's family is that it may be difficult to form a separate relationships. Being unable to achieve anything without the assistance of one's family restricts one's ability to enjoy and participate in society. This is why extreme family-centeredness is one of the weaknesses of the Filipino because caring or protectiveness is no longer within the proper limits.
Joy and humor. This famous trait is the ability of the Filipinos to find humor in everything. It sheds light on the optimism and positivity of Filipinos in whatever situation they are, so as in to remain determined in going through struggles or challenges. It serves as a coping technique, the way a child who has fallen laughs at him or herself to hide his embarrassment. Examples of joy and humor on Filipino culture. Filipinos often share the time with their friends or loved ones when they are free. Filipinos also like to help and attend parties. Filipinos always finds a way to be happy even though their situations are complicated, like after typhoons, or even they have nothing to eat nor have anything and many more. So yung mga Filipinos daw po is mga natural po masasiyahin kasi po kahit anong sitwasyon na gagawa po nilang tumawa at ngumiti. Kahit po may bagyo, kahit po after ng bagyo, nagawa po rin po nilang ngumiti para po makabangon ulit sila at makalimutan po yung pagkalugmok nila sa sitwasyon na yun. Lack of discipline. Self-discipline and moral values were very prominent in the generations in the past. The essence of one's moral values used to ooze out of the persona of the young generation. Majority of the youth tend to learn courtesy, honesty, timeliness, respecting elders, and having a self-respect intact with the selfless attitude towards their elders. Unfortunately, these moral values have been diminishing slowly and gradually from the youth and might extinct no time sooner. The moment puberty hits the teenagers with young men having a budding mustache and hoarse voice, and the young ladies with their tight blouses and menses on. They think to be mature enough to deal with life the way they want to be. They don't feel the need of a torchbearer in their lives. Examples of lack of discipline on Filipino culture. Filipinos sometimes can't follow simple rules or laws which are too easy to follow, but instead playing dumb or pretending to unsee or unhear and just do what they think was right. So yung mga Filipinos daw po, particularly mga kabataan, is nagkakaroon daw po ng diminishing of discipline kasi po hindi na rin po masyado natututukan ng mga kabataan ngayon sa kanilang mga ginagawa kasi marami na rin po kasi nangyayari. Tapos yung mga kabataan naman po, iniisip po nila tama po yung ginagawa nila, although mali po yun. And tumatak na rin po sa isip nila na tama lagi yung ginagawa nila. Flexibility, adaptability, and creativity. Filipinos have a great capacity to adjust and to adapt to circumstances and the surrounding environment, both physical and social. Unplanned and anticipated events are never overly disturbing or disorienting as the flexible Filipino adjusts to whatever happens. We possess a tolerance for ambiguity that enable us to remain unfazed by uncertainty or lack of information. We are creative, resourceful, quick learners, and have the ability to improvise and make use of whatever is on hand in order to create and produce. Examples of flexibility, adaptability, and creativity of the Filipino. Filipinos can adapt on what they are currently experiencing and living with, especially on today that we are experiencing inflation and many other issues we are currently facing. Filipinos are also creative and innovative when it comes to industry. They can make great handicrafts and other products which are passed on through generations. So yung mga Filipinos daw po ay natural din pong magagaling at matatalino kasi po nakakagawa po sila ng mga bagay-bagay kahit po konti lang po yung resources and nakaka-adapt po agad sila sa kanilang current situations. Passivity and lack of initiative. Filipinos are generally passive and lacking in initiative. One waits to be told what has to be done. There is a strong reliance on others like leaders and government to do things for us. This is related to the attitude towards authority. There is high tolerance for inefficiency, poor service, and violations of one's basic rights in many ways. It can be said that Filipinos are too patient and long-suffering, matiisin, too easily resigned to one's fate. Filipinos are thus easily oppressed and exploited. Examples of passivity and lack of initiative of the Filipino. Filipinos tend to be complacent and there is rarely a sense of urgency about any problem. The new generation of Filipinos are so-called millennials and Gen Zs mostly spend their time on social media or mobile games that they don't even do chores or schoolworks anymore. So yung mga Filipinos na po are asa sa gobyerno na lagi po nilang iniisip na ang gobyerno po bahala sa kanila. Ang gobyerno ang sasagot sa lahat. Although hindi po kaya ng gobyerno na gawin ng lahat. And dumawalan na rin po sila ng pagkukusa at taghihintay na lang po sila na magsasabi sa kanila kung anong dapat nilang gawin. Sa mga kabataan naman po, nakakalimutan na po nilang gumawa sa bahay tsaka tumuho sa magulang nila dahil lagi na lang silang tutok sa social media and mobile games.
Strength number 5, hard work in industry. Working hard and being industrious implies that you are doing things that take courage and boldness. You are taking the shot where others will not, and doing things that other people consider difficult. All Filipinos are known as hardworking, to be able to buy foods for their family, to eat and to give a shelter, and a good way of living. Example number 1, farmers. Even with little support, technological weaknesses, and the country's seasonal typhoons, the Filipino farmers still thrive to earn their daily meal. Example number 2, overseas Filipino worker or OFW. Filipino find work overseas to pay for their children's education, to be able to have a house or property, to put up their own businesses, and to save on retirement. Example number 3, construction worker. They work long hours of standing, walking, lifting, bonding, and dealing with dust and noise. Weakness number 5, colonial mentality, a Filipino value of showing high admiration and preference to foreign-produced goods and product over local ones. Siyempre, kapag tinanong natin ang mga Pilipino kung anong pipiliin nila, imported product or local one, syempre ang pipiliin nila is imported kasi pag sinabing imported, masasabi nating sosyal or mamahalin. Strength number 6, hospitality. This is the most common terminology that describe how Filipino welcome foreigner who visited the country. This trait of Filipino towards the visitor is undeniable exceptional. They always treat our guests warmly, whether they are foreigner or not. Therefore, if there is one thing that foreigner will usually comment about right after visiting the Philippines, it will probably not be the food or the place they visited, but the hospitality of the Filipino. Weakness number 6, lavishness, outright display of generosity. The quality of being expensive or impressive, he liked to create an atmosphere of lavishness and luxury. Lavish lifestyle is one of the reason most of the Filipino make loan but fail to resolve the debt. For example, nangungutang isang Pilipino para lang makabili ng luho or yung wants niya para maipagmayabang sa ibang tao kahit hindi naman niya kayang bayaran.
So, strength of gender-specific values. Gender-specific values, ito ay kung ano yung ini-expect sa atin sa paglaki natin. And mapababae man or lalaki, ay dapat maging responsableng miyembro ng pamilya at ng lipunan. As you can see, na ang mga babae daw ay sila dapat yung tumutulong sa mga gawaing bahay. And sila din yung nag-aalaga at nagagabay sa kanilang mga anak. And dapat sila din yung nag-aasist sa kanilang mga asawa. While ang mga lalaki naman, ay sila yung pangunahing nagsusupport o nagbibigay ng pangangailangan sa kanyang pamilya. So next is weakness, stereotyping and gender role assignment. So pag sabi natin stereotyping, a widely accepted judgment or bias about a person or group, even though it's overly simplified and not also accurate. For example, pag nakasalamin ka, yung iba sa atin ang iniisip, matalino ka pag nakasalamin ka. Pero ang totoo, malabo lang ang mata mo. So i-judge ka nila base sa kanilang paniniwala. So yan yung isang example ng stereotyping. So next is gender role. So pag sinabi natin gender role, ito naman yung ina-expect nila kung paano tayo gumalaw, magsalita at manamit. For example, sa pananamit, kapag babae ka, dapat nakadress ka. At kapag lalaki naman, ay naka-t-shirt at shorts. So may 4 tayong klase ng stereotypes. So the first one is personality traits. So sa personality traits, ang mga babae ay inaasahan na emotional, while ang mga lalaki naman ay ina-expect na sila yung mga may tiwala sa sarili at agresibo. So, the second one is domestic behaviors. Dito naman, inaasahan na ang mga babae ay sila yung nag-aalaga sa kanilang mga anak, nagluluto at naglinis ng tahanan. At ang mga lalaki naman ay siya yung nagtatrabaho at nagbibigay ng pangangailangan sa kanyang pamilya. At sila yung nag-aayos kapag may sira sa bahay. And the third is occupation. So, dito naman is inaasahan ng ibang tao na kapag teacher at nurse ay babae at kapag piloto naman o doktor at engineer ay mga lalaki. And the last one is physical appearance. So dito naman is kagaya lang ng in-example ko kanina na ang mga babae ay inaasahan na payat, mabait, while ang mga lalaki naman ay dapat na matangkad at matipuno. And sabi dito, men and women are also expected to dress and groom in ways that are stereotypical to their gender. So kagaya din lang ng sabi ko kanina, na ang mga lalaki ay dapat nakapantalon and shorts, while ang mga babae ay nakasuot ng dress and nagme-makeup. So next is strength. Faith in religiosity. So dito naman is, tayo mga Pilipino ay may malalim na paniniwala kay Jesus. And sabi dito, our innate religiosity enable us to comprehend and genuinely accept the reality in the context of God's plan for us. And thus tragedy and bad fortune are accepted and some optimism characterize even the poorest lives. For example, kapag na-aksidente tayo, minsan iniisip natin na ay may plano ang Diyos para sa atin kaya nangyari ang lahat ng to. And prayers becomes an important part of our lives. So yan yung strength ng faith and religiosity. And sa weakness is kanya-kanya syndrome. The Filipino demonstrate also the so-called crab mentality using the leveling instruments of chismis, intriga, and unconstructive criticism to bring others down. So kahit tinawag na crab mentality or utak talangka ang kanya-kanya syndrome ay nakakita na ba kayo ng maraming talangka o crab sa isang lagayan? Di ba naghihilan sila? So, ganyan yung kanya-kanya syndrome. Naghihilan tayo using chismis, intriga, and unconstructive criticisms to bring others down. So, sabi dito, Filipinos have a selfish, self-serving attitude that generates a feeling of envy and competitiveness toward others, particularly one's peers who seem to have gained some status or prestige. And the kanya-kanya syndrome is also evident in the personal ambition and the drive for power and status that is completely insensitive to the common goods. So tayo mga Pilipino ay may makasariling pag-uugali and personal ambition na kahit makapak na tayo ng iba is nagiging insensitive tayo para lang makagain tayo ng power and status.
Good day, everyone. I'm Abner Borja Jr. and now I'm going to discuss one of the strengths of the Filipino character, which is the ability to survive. But first, let me read the definition of what is the ability to survive. So, Filipinos are survivors and are resilient. We have the great capability to surpass all sad experiences and recover easily from difficult times. This is manifested in the Filipinos who bravely live through the harshest economic, physical, and social circumstances. So, Filipinos make do what is available in the environment. We develop a sense of resourcefulness or the ability to survive with whatever we have. Meaning, we have the extraordinary ability to make something out of almost nothing. So, it means all of the Filipinos have the ability to endure all of the difficult challenges that we encounter. So here are the examples in which Filipinos have the ability to survive despite in difficult times. Example of crisis where Filipinos are the survivors and surviving are the Mount Pinatubo disaster, 1990 earthquake, typhoons, Asian financial crisis, and more, and many more. It is the proof that Filipinos are great survivors. So we can see in the first set of pictures or the Mount Pinatubo disaster that they are the survivors in volcanic eruptions na kahit mahigit 800 na katao ang mga nasawi dulot ng pagsabog na kung saan yung pagsabog ng bulkan ay may pinaghalong putik at nagbabagong lava at mga usok nagawa pa rin nila makaligtas. See that Filipinos are resilient, hindi sila basta-basta sumusuko. Another example is the 1990 earthquake or the 1990 Luzon earthquake that we can see in the second set of pictures. 7.7 ang lakas na nindol. Nagkasira-sira man ang mga infrastruktura at mga gusali o kani-kanilang mga tahanan, still they survive. They don't mind the distractions kasi alam ng mga Pilipino na may pag-asa pa sila na makakaahon sa hirap. And another example is the typhoons, like the Bagyong Yolanda na naganap sa Tacloban, Leyte, or sa buong Pilipinas kasi damay sila lahat. In which it is not just a typhoon, but it is a super typhoon na kahit maraming namatay, still they have more survivors. And base sa karanasan ng isa sa kaklase natin, malakas talaga ang hagupit sa kanila ng Bagyong Yolanda. He is the one of the greatest survivors in Super Typhoon Yolanda. And kung makikita naman natin sa third set ng pictures, sobrang lakas talaga ng bagyo. Maraming nasawi, maraming nagutom, at marami rin ang nawalan. Subalit hindi sila sumuko, naging matatag pa rin sila. And another example niyan is yung Asian financial crisis na crisis na kung saan ang mga nakakaranas nito ay ang mga taong walang hanap buhay o walang sapat na kinikita. Yung pinagkakasya kung may kinikita man ay pinagkakasya nila, pinabudget para sa pamilya nila. Subalit, nagagawa nila ng paraan. Yung iba, kapag walang maulam, nag-uulam lang ng asin sa kanin. At yung iba naman, toyo at langis lang ang sinasabaw sa kanin para may sabaw na sila ng adobo. O diba ang maparaan nila? So dito natin masasabing may kakayahan talaga ang mga Pilipino na mabuhay kahit walang-wala na sila. And so for our next slide, I am going to discuss one of the weaknesses of the Filipino character, which is the lack of self-analysis and self-reflection. So, ano nga ba ang meaning nito? There is a tendency in the Filipino to be superficial and even somewhat flighty. In the face of serious problems, both personal and social, there is lack of analysis or reflection. We joke about the most serious matters, and this prevents looking deeply into the problem. There is no felt need to validate our hypothesis or explanation of things. Thus, we are satisfied with superficial explanations and superficial solution to problems. Sinasabi dito na kapag wala kang self-analysis o pagsusuri sa sarili o self-reflection o wala kang pagmumuni-muni sa sarili, nakakagawa ka ng padalos-dalos na pagdidesisyon. And kulang tayo sa pagseseryoso. In the difficult times or na seryosong problema, wala. Pabanjing-banjing lang tayo, pabiro-biro lang tayo. Tapos yung iba naniniwala sa mga kasabihan ng iba, sa mga chismis, without analyzing ano ba talaga yung tumpak na info. Like yung sa COVID, for example. Sa aming barangay, yung iba sa amin pasaway, ayaw magpa-vaccine dahil nga sinasabi, mamamatay daw sila pag nagpa-vaccine. Sinasabi naman nilang iba, yung ano daw ay, yung sakit na COVID is lagnat lang yan. Sipon lang yan, trangkaso lang yan. Hindi sila naniniwala na it is a new disease that comes from China. Naniniwala lang sila sa mga chismis, sa mga sabi-sabi. Wala silang pagsusuri maigi kung ano ba talaga yung COVID na yan. So, let me give you an examples. For example, a lack of personal reflection may lead us to stay in a job we don't like. Yan. Yung pag-i-stay natin sa job na hindi naman natin gusto. Kaya, dumadami ang job mismatch at unemployed. Yung iba, gumraduate, abogado. Pero nasaan? Nasa doktor, ang gagamot. 'Di ba? And we don't like or a relationship that isn't going well. Yan, yung pakikipagrelasyon. Yung sa una lang sila magaling. And the end, pag nakuha na nila yung gusto nila, alis na sila. Kaya dumadami ang case ng paghihiwalay ng pag-asawa. Dahil nga sa walang sapat na plano yung pamilyang yun. And then, another example is yung pagpili ng mamumuno sa bansa. Nagpapadala tayo sa mga mabubulaklak na salita, sa mga pangako nilang na at the end, napapako. At yung binoboto pa natin, at ang masakla pa dito, yung binoboto pa natin is yung corrupt. Kaya, paano tayo uunlad yan? Hindi mo na, meron na tayong experience sa mga nakaraan nating mga namumuno. Bakit pa natin inuulit-ulit ang pagpili sa kanila? Hindi na ba tayo nagsasawa na ganito na tayo kahirap? Kaya, isa yan sa mga Pilipinong pag-uugali. Yung lack of self-analysis and self-reflection. Yung nakikiuso lang sila sa paligid nila. Hindi sila mismo ang nagde-decide para sa sarili nila. Kaya, at the end, sino ang kawawa? Di tayo din. And for our next topic, we will discuss now about the Asian cultures. So, number one, the Asian cultures is the collectivistic or the community and family. So, meaning collectivist cultures emphasize the needs and goals of the group as a whole over the needs and desires of each individual. In such cultures, relationships with other members of the group and the interconnectedness between people play a central role in each person's identity. So, sinasabi dito na nagtatrabaho ang isang individual para sa group. O baga, mas kapakanan niya ay yung group kaysa sa kanyang sariling kapakanan. Mas focus dito ay yung as a group, working as a group, not an individual. So, in collectivistic cultures, people are considered good if they are generous, helpful, dependable, and attentive to the needs of others. Meaning, masasabing na sa collectivistic cultures kapag sinasabing matulungin ka sa iyong kapwa, dumidepende ka sa iyong kapwa, or attentive. Yung may concern ka, may paki ka sa ibang tao. So, sa Asian countries such as China, Japan, and South Korea, as well as countries in South America, tend to be more collectivist. And hindi lang yan. Sa Pilipinas din, isa ring type ng collectivist. Because the needs of the family are prioritized over the needs of the individual. Dito sa Pilipinas, mas priority ang kakabuti ng kanyang pamilya kaysa sa kanyang sariling kapakanan. So, common traits of collectivists are ang karaniwang katangian raw ng collectivist. So first, individuals define themselves in relation to others. For example, I am a member of, or for my example, I am a member of Borja family, or halimbawa society. Kung kasali man ako sa Philippine Red Cross, sabihin ko na, I am a member of Philippine Red Cross Society. So, second, communication is often more indirect to avoid potential conflict or embarrassment. Sinasabi dito na ang pakikipagkomunikasyon ay mas madalas na hindi direkta upang maiwasan ng pakikipagsagutan o pagsalungat para maiwasan na din ang kahihiyan. The third is group loyalty is encouraged. Hinihikayat ang katapatan sa grupo because you work as a group, not an individual. So, number 4, decisions are based on what is best for the group. So, ang pagdidesisyon ay nakabase sa ikakabuti ng grupo. Number 5, compromise is favored when a decision needs to be made to achieve greater levels of peace. Sinasabi dito na kapag magdedesisyon ang isang individual, kailangan may consent muna o makipag-agree. Halimbawa, sa husgado, hindi naman basta-basta huhusgahan ang isang inakusahan kung wala pa itong pruweba. Siyempre, makikinig ang judge sa both sides. Papakinggan nila base sa pananalita, sa pagkilos nito, at hindi lang yan, sa mga pruweba na magsasabing guilty ba ang isang inakusahan o not guilty. So, number 6. Working as a group and supporting others is essential. Nagtatrabaho para sa isang grupo o sa society at pagsuporta sa iba ay mahalaga. Number 7. Greater emphasis is placed on common goals than on individual pursuits. So, mas binibigyan pansin ang isang layunin para sa lahat kaysa sa pangsariling layunin. And the last is, the right of families and communities come before those of the individual. So, ang mga karapatan ng mga pamilya at komunidad ay nauuna kaysa sa mga
Next is the
individual.
time
So,
orientation.
ang
In
atandaan lang
Asian
dito,
culture,
kapag
view moral
collectivistic
development as
is para
cyclical,
sa community
with
at sa
individuals
family,
experiencing
hindi para
good
sa
and bad
pansarili.
consequences based on their actions in the previous
Nagtatrabaho
life, and the idea
para
that
sa
their
group
good deeds
or
will
para sa
eventually come back to them
community,
in positive ways.
hindi sa
In
pansarili.
short, we believe in
So, for my
reincarnation,
example, in
especially sa
collectivistic,
mga Pinoy.
workers who live
Kung may
in a
nagawa man
collectivist
tayong
culture
mali
might
sa
strive to
kasalukuyan,
sacrifice
pwedeng-pwede pa
their own
nating
happiness
mabawi
for
ito
the
sa
greater
ating
good of
next
the group.
life.
So, based on the picture,
Sa Western
this shows
culture naman, they
how
view
they
moral development of time orientation
unite in a
as a
group
linear,
kung paano sila
where it is
nagkakaisa
a progression from childhood to
at handa
adulthood,
silang
where
magsakripisyo
individuals gradually grow
para
and
sa
mature
ikakabuti ng
morally over
kanilang
time.
group
Dito
o
naman
samahan.
naniniwala sila na
So,
may
sa ating
beginning at
next slide,
hangganan ang buhay ng
makikita
tao.
natin ang Western
Unlike
culture.
sa Asian culture na
So, kung merong Asian
paulit-ulit
culture,
yung
meron ding Western
kanilang
culture.
buhay, yung naniniwala
So, ano
sila
bang
sa
meron nga dito sa Western
reincarnation.
culture? So,
That would be all. Thank you for
individualistic.
listening. I hope you learned
So, ano
something
nga ba
from
ang
us.
individualistic? From the word individual. So, individualistic cultures are characterized by individualism, which is the prioritization or emphasis of the individual over the entire group. In individualistic cultures, people are motivated by their own preference and viewpoints. Sinasabi dito na sa individualistic cultures daw ay may mga ang bawat isa dito ay may sariling pananaw at may sariling alam. Meaning to say, nakafocus sila sa kanilang sarili, hindi sa ibang grupo o sa anumang grupo. So, in individualistic cultures, people are considered good if they are strong, self-reliant, assertive, and independent. So, masasabi daw, ang mga tao dito ay sa individualistic cultures ay kung sila ay malakas o umaasa sa sarili, may paninindigan at sila ay malaya. So, a few countries, kakunti lang to kakunti lang mga bansa na kinukonsidered na individualistic cultures sila. Include the United States, Germany, Ireland, South Africa, and Australia. So, ang mga examples or a few common characteristics of individualistic cultures. Ito daw yung mga katangian sa individualistic culture. So, number 1, being dependent upon others is often considered shameful or embarrassing. So, sinasabi dito na kapag umaasa ka raw sa iba, ay kinukonsidera nila na nakakahiya. So, number 2, independence is highly valued. Sinasabi na mahalaga sa kanila ang pagiging malaya. Number 3, people often place a greater emphasis on standing out and being unique. Sinasabi na tumatayo sila sa sarili nilang mga paa. Not just literally, but meaning to say, kaya nilang mabuhay mag-isa at nakikilala sila bilang kakaiba. Kumbaga. So, number 4, people tend to be self-reliant. Sinasabi dito na ang mga tao sa individualistic culture ay umaasa lang sila sa sarili nila. Number 5, the rights of individuals tend to take a higher precedence. So, sinasabi na ang karapatan nila sa sarili nila ay dapat inuuna kaysa sa iba. O ang karapatan nila o para sa kanilang kapakanan ay laging inuuna. And for my example, workers in an individualist culture are more likely to value their own well-being over the good of the group. So sinabi ko nga kanina, mas priority nila ang sarili nila kaysa sa ibang tao o sa ibang grupo. And just like on the picture, Just like on the picture, that one red human is going up and the others is going down. Meaning to say that he is the only one unique that go up. And this picture, hindi naman ito yung picture na parang magpapakamatay. Ito yung picture na kino-consider na individualistic culture kasi nakikita naman natin na nakaya niya maglakbay mag-isa. At nakikita naman natin sa picture na malaya siyang gumalaw.
Risk avoidance. Risk avoidance means you're trying to avoid composing events as a way to eliminate liability exposures. Risk reduction is a way to help you control the damages to business. So dito sa risk avoidance, syempre pag nasa sitwasyon tayo na kailangan natin pumili between safe or risk. Sa taong takot na mag-take ng risk, pipili nila yung safe. Example, you're a business owner and kumikita ka na. And someone asks you na, bakit hindi mo to idagdag sa product mo? Siyempre, ang una mo maiisip is, nakakatakot kasi baka malugi or magsaring negosyo mo dahil sa product na yun. So, nag-stick ka na lang dun sa dati mong business which is kumikita ka naman. Willing to take a risk. Risk takers are incredibly curious about why things are the way they are. Curiosity for risk takers is an initiate instinct, and curious people have a hard time accepting the way that things are without thinking about the way things can be. Before competition, alam nila na matatalo sila, may possibilities na matalo sila. Pero, they try because they believe na may possibilities pa rin na manalo sila dun sa competition. Asian men do not compete directly against women and vice versa. The main reason for this is that men and women are physically built differently. Men are generally taller, heavier, stronger, and quicker than women, which means the competing on the equal basis isn't really possible. As an Asian, syempre, yung iba, pag sinabing babae, ibig sabihin, ang unang pumapasok sa isip nila is mahina at kayang talunin. At kapag sinabing lalaki, malakas. So, kaya nga pag nakakita tayo ng lalaki na umiiyak, unang pumapasok sa isip nila is bakla. Gender-based competition. Both of the West and non-West have different challenges. When facing gender inequalities, the West focused on the question, when could women and men achieve equality? And the non-West still focus on primary problems such as violence toward women and education. Gender-free competition is that hindi sila bumabase sa gender ng tao. Because they believe na both men and women have their strength and skills. Example nito is yung mga unisex sports nila.
In this part is nakikita natin ang difference between Asian culture and Western culture and their attitude through thinking. First is in Asian culture. Attitude is holistic view. Lisbeth and colleagues in 2001 argue that people from East Asian culture display a holistic cognitive style, focusing on context and relationships among elements in the field or whole. Sinasabing ang mga Asian culture ay laging nakatingin sa context as a whole. Ang laging thinking nila ay the general meaning of that thing or that culture. While in Western culture, their attitude is analytical and detailed. People from Western cultures show an analytic cognitive style, focusing on objects and their properties rather than context or facts. Kung sa Asian culture ay nakapokus o lagi silang nakatingin sa context at sa kabuuan ng bagay na iyon, while sa Western culture naman is nakapokus sila sa objects lang at sa mga parts. Kaya't lahat ng iniisip ng Western culture ay detalyado talaga kasi iniisa-isa pa nila ay yung bawat part at mga objects. Para mas maintindihan pa natin ang difference between Asian culture and Western culture in their attitude, let's describe the example. A living room. How would you describe a living room? Sa Western culture, they describe a living room na ito ay may mga sofa, TV, lamesa, lahat ng mga bagay na nakikita natin sa example or on screen. While sa Asian culture naman ay they describe a living room as a place where family members gather and communicate to each other. A Western culture focus on objects while Asian culture focus on context. Next is the difference in their opinions. First is in Asian culture is suppress one's opinions. The Easterners seem more conservative and traditional than the Westerners. So they say that since the Easterners are more conservative, they do not talk openly about topics that are taboo for them. Ang mga taga-Asian culture ay hindi nila nasasabing opinion nila about the topic or issue. Mananatiling nasa isip or sarili lang nila iyon. Bakit ang mga Asian culture is suppress their opinions? Because ang Asian culture is maingat sila sa mga sasabihin nila. Lagi nilang isinasa-isip ang feelings ng ibang tao. Ang mga taga-Asian daw ay hindi madaling malaman kung galit or hindi. Maaring kalmado yan kapag tinitignan mo pero sa loob-loob niyan is galit na yan. While in Western culture, Western world can openly express their thoughts and feelings because they are more liberal and practical in most ways. Ang mga taga-Western world naman ay kaya nilang i-express ang mga opinions nila because they are more practical than Asian culture. Kung ang Asian world ay hindi madaling malaman kung galit or hindi, sa Western world naman ay malalaman mo agad.
Time orientation. Asian culture as cyclical and Western culture as linear. Asian culture view moral development as cyclical. Individuals experiencing good and bad consequences based on their action in previous lives and the idea that their good deeds will eventually come back to them in a positive ways. Whereas Western culture view moral development as a linear progression from childhood to adulthood, where individuals gradually grow and mature morally over time. Comparing the two, Asian culture believe in reincarnation or rebirth of individual, while in Western culture, they only believe na may beginning and ending ang buhay ng isang tao. Asian culture view time as cyclical with a focus on the past, present, and future. Also, they view it as a plentiful time. They don't try to control time, but they allow events to unfold naturally. In Western culture, time view as a linear with a focus on the present and the future. Also, they control time and don't like to be late on the schedule. For example, sa nakikita nyong larawan, let's say yung nakahiga ay si Asian, while yung nasa meeting place na ay si Western. Obvious naman, isa is very Filipino. Ang sinusunod niyang oras, ang tinatawag natin yung Filipino time. While yung isa naman ay yung standard time talaga. So, makikita natin ang pagkakaiba ng dalawang culture pagdating sa oras. At doon nagtatapos ang aming reporting. I hope you learned something from us. Thank you!